Oh, hey there. Sorry I'm late. Thanks for waiting for me. I meant to get here sooner, but the bus I usually ride on was running late. City-dwelling possum problems, you know? I was able to scrounge up a few things for our little adventure, though. My weird possum pockets are stuffed to the gunnels, let me tell you. Oh, mostly snacks and such. Food and drink, befitting the auspicious occasion of this day. You do know what day this is, yes? Well, yes, it is, in fact, the day before St. Patrick's Day. But there's more to it than that. Have you not heard of Saint Urho's Day? Saint Urho, the patron saint of Finland. You've not heard of him? Well, allow me to educate you on the matter, friend. I will hold forth and pontificate while we walk. Well, we've got a few blocks to go before we get to the place I wanted to show you. But this area is kind of deserted, and I highly doubt there's anyone about the place. So there's no need to be concerned about anyone seeing you walking out here and talking to an oversized possum who is also walking out here. Okay. So, today is the feast day of Saint Urho, the patron saint of Finland, and a great and mighty folk hero. He's not as well known as some other folk heroes, like Paul Bunyan or Cuchulainn or Pecos Bill, or that Jane Cobb fellow out in California, I think it was. Anyway, Saint Urho lived in Finland, a long time ago, in a region well known for its vineyards. Good stuff, that Finnish wine, if you know where to find it. So yeah, Finland, wine country, and our hero, Saint Urho. The legends tell that he was born small, of a family of farmers, and grew up almost entirely on a diet of sour milk and fish soup. Which is to say, he ate the same food as the rest of his family did, but oh boy did he ever put away that sour milk and fish soup. And it's this unusual diet of his that's supposed to have given him one of his most remarkable heroic traits. His voice. Oh, he was strong too. Any well-fed farm boy usually is. But he was loud as well. Like, incredibly loud. It's said that he could call in the cows from the grazing pastures even when they were miles away. And sometimes even the cows from farms on the other side of the mountains would come when he called them too. And he could shout so loud into a pond or a river that all the fish within 100 yards would just turn belly up and float to the top of the water. There's even a story about a man who tried to get Saint Urho, well, he wasn't a saint then, just plain Urho, I guess, tried to get him into a shouting contest with him. Came out to his farm and followed him around with a handful of his friends, trying to start up this silly contest. And when Saint Urho had had enough of the guy, he just turns on him and yells at him, "Go away, I have chores to do." And he yelled so loud that the other man was blown clean out of his boots and trousers, and through both walls of a barn, and skipped across the cow pond like a stone. And all of his friends went deaf for a solid week. This event, of course, made Saint Urho something of a local legend, and probably the beginning of his rise to fame as a folk hero. People think of Finland nowadays as a really cold place. I'm pretty sure that's the case, though I've never been there myself. It's a bit difficult to fly places when you're not very large and haven't got a credit card and are in fact only a talking possum. Anyway, apparently Finland used to be rather warmer, and really famous for all the vineyards. But every few years, there'd be a plague of grasshoppers that popped up in some region or other, and they'd play merry hell with the grape crops that year. Well, so the story goes, one year the grasshopper plagues broke out everywhere at once. Every valley in Finland with grapevines was infested with grasshoppers, so thick you couldn't see the ground beneath your feet. Just a carpet of hoppers, all hell-bent on devouring every last leaf and grape in the vineyards. And the grape crop that year was a good one, too. The best in living memory. Grapes the size of tennis balls, in bunches so big the harvesters had to go out in teams of 4 just to bring in one bunch. And when the grasshoppers started eating on these colossal-sized grapes, they got bigger too. Imagine, friend, a crawling and hopping horde of grasshoppers the size of cats, and some of them even bigger. There were tails of grasshoppers as big as a man, with legs as long as a broom. Sounds terrible, doesn't it? So, all this is taking place, and Saint Urho hears about it, and he decides he's had enough. The regular isolated plagues are one thing, but this is something entirely different. This plague, he knows, is going to ruin the entire nation's wine production for the year. And that just won't do. So our hero, Saint Urho, took up his favorite pitchfork, and he went walking across all of Finland, and into each valley where there was a vineyard. And wherever there were vineyards, there were grasshoppers. And wherever there were grasshoppers, there went Saint Urho, with his pitchfork and his great shouting voice. So he went striding through all the vineyards, crying out, "Grasshopper, grasshopper, go from hence to hell!" And all the grasshoppers in that valley were blown clear away into the sky, and fell down into the next valley, only to be met again by the hero and his voice. And so Saint Urho walked the length and breadth of Finland that year, beneath an ever-growing cloud of giant grasshoppers. And eventually he reached the sea, and he gave a final gigantic shout that blew all the grasshoppers over the horizon, and so far away that when they finally all fell down in a heap, they formed what is now known as Denmark. And from that day, Saint Urho was praised and venerated as the patron saint of winemakers and vineyard workers, and eventually as the patron saint of all Finland. Anyway, that's the story as I've heard it. Why, from a fellow who used to live up in Wisconsin. The way he told it, Saint Urho's feast day is the really big thing up there, and St. Patrick's Day, which comes the day after, is just a time to stay in bed and sleep off the wine hangover. Anyway, friend, I think we've about reached our destination. Yeah, this place right at the end of the road here. You did tell me the other day that you were looking to do a little urban exploring out on the edge of town, yeah? Well, this place ought to pique your interest then. Some sort of factory, I think. This whole section of land out here is all shot through with factories and processing centers and warehouses and the like. This one in particular... Yeah, this is the place. Oh, it used to be quite the big thing. I think they made something here. NFTs or something like that. But it all closed down when the bottom fell out of the market a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I read about it in the local paper. I may or may not have been drinking at the time. That was an interesting couple of days, and I found all sorts of unusual stuff on the ground. Anyway, let's get ourselves inside this place and have a look around. After a snack, of course. First we'll get in, then we snack, and then we look around. There's a side door over this way, I think. Yes, right over this way. Hey, want to see something neat, friend? A little bit of anomalous possum magic, as it were? Abandoned places like this are supposed to be locked up, right? Try opening the door. No good, is it? Now, watch this. Drat. Not quite tall enough to reach there. Let's get inside and shut the door again. It wouldn't do for someone to see that door hanging open all suspicious-like. Actually, I think a good portion of that comes from just being a possum, not the anomalous part. You know how people are always finding animals in places they're not supposed to be? Inside attics and basements and cars and such? Someone always ends up asking, how the hell did they even get in here? It was locked. It's a hard thing to keep a determined animal out of something it wants to get into. I think I read something about that somewhere. It had to do with designing a bear-proof garbage can, I think. And there was an observation made by one of the people designing it. Something about the difficulties in making a garbage can that could keep out the cleverest bears but still be opened by the dumbest of people. I sure hope there aren't any bears in here, though. Nah, probably not. Okay. We are inside now and out of sight from casual observers. Let's have that snack now. Just a moment while I turn out my pockets. Got a whole Saint Urho's Day feast in here, I do. In lieu of fish soup, I've got a couple of tins of kippered herrings, which I think you'll like. And though I personally don't mind milk gone past its prime, I sort of figured it wasn't your thing, so I swapped that for a nice lump of cheese I found in a parking lot earlier today. Oh, no, it's still cold and still in the packaging at that, and the expiration date is still a week off. And to top it off, I've got a small bottle of Finnish wine, which I liberated from behind the counter at a liquor store that has even simpler locks than this place. See, it's even got an image of Saint Urho himself on the label, along with his trusty pitchfork, with the giant grasshopper skewered on the end of it for good measure. And it's called Grasshopper Plague Stopper. Yeah, I think this will make a fitting feast day snack indeed. And after we're done snacking, we can feast our eyes on the wonders of this abandoned NFT factory, or whatever the hell it is. Here's to Saint Urho, then. And may he keep all the vineyards safe from giant grasshoppers forevermore.